lower classes, social slime, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they war. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slide, they don't matter, genocide. Sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear, fuck them back, it's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one leaves countries, lie to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens, and this show is called Rock the Boat, which is what we got to do. We got to pick up the pace here a little bit. We got to shake the shit out of this boat, and we got to get it flipped right side up, because we've been living in an upside-down world for a very, very long time. So, it was kind of interesting last night over on Revolution Radio. I had a lady calling from Australia, and damn if I can remember what her name is. Names are not things that I hang on to too well, unless I'm going to be talking to the person a lot, or, excuse me, man, woman a lot. But it was interesting because it made no bones that what's going on in Australia is exactly what's going on over in California, which is exactly what's going on in whatever state you live in, the United States. It should be America, but it's presently the United States, and we have to get it turned back to America. That is the land of the people, not the land of the corporation. So, you know, if you're voting for the President of the United States, you're just voting for the new CEO of the corporation, of which has held you in bondage, in slavery, in citizenship, which is citizen means the exact same thing as subject. And you are subject to the whims of the legislators who, well, aren't on your side. They use you as you are specifically really nothing more than a revenue stream for the corporation, and that has to change. Same thing up here in Canada, which is also a corporation, of which all the legislation is put through is corporate legislation, is rules, regulations, and bylaws of the corporation. And because they made us a phony entity, a government entity of which they created and they own, but they made us separate, you, the man, woman, and the entity, the legal corporate entity. While we are separate, somehow we are also indivisible, and that has to stop as well. Because as long as we're indivisible from this corporate created entity, then we are slaves of that corporate entity. And that has to be changed as well. So we really just got to get back to reality. And that's why we have to flip the boat. That's why we got to rock the boat. You can't flip the boat if you don't rock the boat. So people need to get a little more aggressive. I don't mean aggressive and like I'm going to blow your head off. That's stupid aggressive. But we have to get more aggressive. We have to start, sit down and write a letter to your local newspaper, attend council meetings. You have to hold their feet to the fire, because if you don't hold their feet to the fire, well, they get a free ride. And then, of course, if we give them a free ride, then who can we complain about or to except ourselves? We become the problem because we're the ones that allow this to continue. So it was nice to hear from that lady in Australia. I wish the police hadn't called when they called. I gave them specific instructions when I called them from the Max Milk when I was getting my coffee before last night's show. I told them I had to do a 2-hour show, and told them to call me between 20 to 10 and 10 to 10, or call me after midnight. But they did call just before top of the hour, and so we had break music, and I lost my caller from Australia. But I did have an interesting conversation with the sergeant who called, and gave me every excuse in the book why they wouldn't write a citation for the officer driving down the main street of town with no taillights. They blamed the car. It's a new car, you know. Okay, so what you're telling me is if you buy a new car, you're not subject to the traffic laws, because that's exactly what he said. And he also gave the excuse that the main street is well lit. Well, that car came in from the countryside, because he came up the main street, which the lighting doesn't exist out about a half a mile. So, but he gave me every excuse in the book why he would not write a ticket to the officer, male or female, who was driving the vehicle. So now we're going to pursue that, because the sergeant who refuses to issue the ticket is obstructing justice. And it's a conspiracy to obstruct, and it's also a breach of trust. So we will be pursuing this matter. Tomorrow it starts. Tomorrow's Monday, so we will start pursuing this tomorrow and see where that takes us. The police here have left me alone for a long time, ever since after years of harassment and intimidation and assaults and having power cut off illegally and this, that, and the other damn thing, being dragged through court. It's our turn to rock the boat, so to speak. And it was really weird, because last night, I'm not I have no use for religion. I have no use for the church. But I do believe in a creator, because I can't fathom how it is that I somehow ended up coming off the reproduction of an ape. Nobody's been able to show me any connection whatsoever, and nobody can show me how 100 different breeds of apple, or 1,000 different breeds of tree, or all the different bugs all came from the one thing, which means that it just isn't plausible, nor is most science plausible. Science is, and I read it in the books, how the hell did we become so connected to science? And they said that they killed God back in the mid-19th century. That's when Darwinism sprung. And that the scientists were put in place as the new priests, and were to believe the scientists regardless. And that is a huge problem, because if we're believing the scientists, well, we know the priests were manipulative as hell, and therefore we know the science is manipulative as hell. All you got to do is look at man-caused global warming, which anybody that does any research at all knows it is cyclical, period. The Earth is a cyclical thing, and it is self-cleansing. And so science, and I'm a perfect example of how little you can trust science is, I remember David Suzuki, the Canadian David Attenborough. Attenborough was always spewing shit on the BBC, and Suzuki was always spewing his garbage on the CBC, and they're both government television networks. And we pay for this garbage that comes across this, and all they are is propaganda machines. And so Suzuki, years ago, when the salmon run got really small, he blamed it, of course, on man, because man is the cause of all problems on the planet. And therefore, when the salmon run would trickle down to almost nothing, it was, of course, your fault and my fault. Well, lo and behold, I don't know what it was, 20 years later, all of a sudden, the Fraser River in Vancouver and the tributaries had the possibly, if not the largest salmon run in history, one of them. And so all these fish that apparently were killed off by man all of a sudden reappeared. Now, why did that happen? Simple, because it's cyclical. All you got to do is go back and look at the 1800s into the early 1900s, and you find that the ice melted in the Arctic. The glaciers were melting. The fish went away. New breeds of fish showed up. Well, not new breeds of fish, but fish that weren't in that water before. Well, the fish are very temperature oriented. So different fish have different temperature ranges. So when it warmed up, the salmon quit coming in. Did that mean the salmon were gone? Of course not, because they're back. And it's cyclical. But they don't tell you this stuff in school. The scientists don't tell you this stuff. They're manipulators. So they understand the cycle, and they use the cycle to push their agendas, or they use these cycles to their advantage. So either the scientist, the average scientist, is dumber than a box of rocks, and he can't just simply read simple history. It's not even old history. It's relatively recent history, mid-19th century. And apparently, we're just supposed to believe whatever they say. And that is a big, big mistake. That is like believing what a politician says. They're all liars. They're all manipulators. And they're all working for a different group of people than you and I. They work for their bosses. And their bosses are the ones who created the League of Nations, created the United Nations, created the Federal Reserve, and so on and so forth. And so that's who they work for. And, Suzuki, in a video that I have somewhere on my YouTube, actually refers, and this is way back in the 70s, actually refers to top-level maggots. He said, people. And that's exactly what they are. They're maggots because they feed off of us. We're the dead corpse. We're the legal fiction, which is a dead corporate entity. They feed off of us. So they are maggots. Make no mistake about it. And I thank Suzuki for actually saying something truthful for once in his friggin' life. Suzuki was also at a conference, a scientific conference, or give a talk at a university in Seattle, I believe it was, many years ago. And what he told the student body there, again, he finally said something truthful, that science is kind of like a funny animal, because things that I believed 20 years ago to be scientifically solid turned out to be completely wrong 20 years later. So what he's telling the student body is that the science they learn today will likely be proven wrong in 20 or 30 years. But 20 or 30 years, they can do a lot of damage. And so science, for the most part, is nothing more than a propaganda machine, like the priests. So get away from religion, get away from science. We're all scientists. The gentlemen, the people who discovered the cycle back in the mid-19th century, they or back in 1800s, they figured it out. All they did was use temperature gauges and that, because they couldn't figure out why the ice was melting, and they couldn't figure out why the fish had, like the cod net had disappeared. Just the same as they said the cod fishery collapsed on the east coast of Canada. It didn't collapse, it moved. Okay, it moved because of the ocean cycles. Okay, at different temperatures, and the fish only live in a certain temperature range. So they weren't fished out. And it didn't collapse. They simply moved. And this was all proven in the past. And these people didn't need computer models and all this kind of stuff. They didn't make predictions. Why is the science making a prediction? That's what soothsayers and these people pay money to go tell them their future. That's not science, okay? That's bullshit. But those people back when the fish left and the ice was melting, they went and used some common sense, and they got out their temperature gauges and started dropping them into the water, and were totally amazed at the difference in the ocean temperature. It had risen, and this is always a cycle. It rises and it drops, and it rises and it drops, and this is a cycle of Earth. But the scientists and the ones the scientists get paid by, the ones who give the scientists the agendas they want them to work on, know fully well that this is all cyclical. And but the media and the schools never bring this to light. And so therefore they're as guilty as the scientists, they're as guilty as the Rockefellers, they're as guilty as the Rothschilds. Because this is who these people work for, like a bunch of toadies. That's what they are, toadies. Your politicians are toadies. And so don't involve yourself in that garbage. Now, if you're going to involve yourself in politics, there's an old saying that you'll either affect politics or you'll be affected by politics. Well, to date, we haven't engaged. Okay, we haven't engaged. Now, you cannot engage in politics at the upper levels. You can't afford it. And this is so tightly controlled, you ain't ever getting in there. You sell your soul, you can do whatever, but unless you're heavily family connected, you ain't going in there. Okay, and so your only opportunity to affect politics is at the local level. And that is exactly where these agendas are being foisted upon us from, the local level. So, excuse me. So you can affect politics. And you must affect politics, because if you don't, they're just going to keep writing paper and rules, regulations, and nonsensical stuff about the environment, and it will destroy your lives. Now, if you don't mind having your life destroyed, and you don't mind no future for your children, grandchildren, those not yet born, or just sit there and turn on the TV and watch the damn TV. Okay? Because you're already brain dead. And there's no point you trying to involve yourself because you don't have the capacity. Although you do have the capacity, you refuse to believe that you have the capacity to do anything. And that's what the overlords are depending upon. You know, here's a new TV show. Watch it. Here's some sports. Watch it. Okay, so you're slaves. You were born a slave. Let's not die slaves, okay? That would be really sad to know that you're a slave and just to accept your slavery and die a slave. That's a pretty poor attitude for anybody. So let's get rocking the boat here. Now, I have, it's been a weird little bit. I haven't felt good for the last few days, and apparently there's a lot of people around here that haven't been feeling good for the last few days. So feeling a little bit better today. Now, I have a Tony, God, I forgot his name again, Tony Hall, who is Anthony Hall, who was a tenured professor at the University of Lethbridge who got tossed. Now, I talked to Tony last week, and he seems awfully hyper, and that always makes me a little bit nervous. So I got looking into what's going on here a little bit, and I've come to the conclusion either Tony doesn't have a clue what he's talking about, or possibly he's a player in this ruse of disinfo and that. And the reason I say that is that he does a YouTube show called False Flag News, I believe it is. And I watched a couple of his episodes, and he asked me to watch the last one, which I think was October the 2nd or whatever it was. No, it would have been 16, whatever it was. Today's the 16th, so it wasn't that one. Somewhere, his last episode anyways. And I listened to it, and he's got a Jewish guy there with him, and some guy from the United States, and this whole thing seems to be, this Tony Hall is saying that the 9/11 was a case of the Zionists taking it down, and we know it was an inside job. I mean, you don't have to be. You can be pretty much brain dead. I mean, you can be, pretty close to totally brain dead, and still understand that it was an inside job. I mean, if you don't understand that, you probably still believe that Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman in the John F. K. Assassination. These are inside jobs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, if you can think even slightly, there's no question. And this is not a conspiracy theory. It's just looking at what is there and doing a little logical thinking, and you figure out what's cooking. So the Zionists knocked down the towers, and they did so in order to go and bomb Muslims. Okay, but the problem is, so now he's basically pro-Jewish, anti-Zionist, and pro-Muslim. Now that's wrong. I mean, that's makes no sense whatsoever. Now these professors, all professors in all universities, are funded with your money, but the agendas are set not by you or I. The agendas are set by the overlords. So the professors push whatever they want them to push. That's their job. Just like the media, their job is to indoctrinate into certain thought processes. That's what they do. So another outfit here, which is in Ontario here, which is called, and I'm going to call these guys and see if I can't get them on the show. I don't know if I'm going to bother with Tony Hall. I'll probably talk to him one more time and make a decision as to whether I want to, if it's a waste of time, and all I got to do is out this guy, which he's already done himself, I think. Maybe it'll be fun, or maybe it'll waste time. I don't know. But where is it I'm looking for here? Oh yeah, Your Ward News. Now there's a big hassle here. Your Ward News. Now I still want a newspaper going. We haven't got the finances to do it, but I'm a firm believer that everyone needs to make in their local area need to get out an independent newspaper. To challenge or rock the boat against the given word of the newspapers in your local councils and the United Nations message, which are the overlords. We have got to have some pushback. And I know a lot of people say that, well, we don't need newspapers because everybody's on the internet. Well, everybody may be on the internet, but not everybody does any research on the internet. Most people still go to the mainstream media, which just happens to be on the internet. So I've talked to lots of people. Where do you get your news? Oh, I go to the internet. Okay, what news are you listening to? Well, the Toronto Star, the National Post, CBC, CTV. Well, these are all mainstream newscasters, so they haven't changed their way of doing things. They're just looking at a different screen, that's all. They move from the TV screen to the computer screen. So they are not being informed. I've had people to me they're being informed, but if you're watching the same news that you were watching on the TV, then sorry, you're being misinformed, just like you were in the past. So we do need to make an effort to get out some local newspapers. And it's not that I just don't have any money, plain and simple. I have been at this 10 years now, and I can't believe how little I've learned to live on. It's weird. It's not fun, but we managed so far, knock wood, we managed so far to get from month to month, barely. They've got my license now, so not my license, their license, but we'll get it back. But that's been a 3-year deal. I'm not paying them their fine. So we're living on one income, which is a part-time income. And, the paycheck came Thursday. Wednesday night, we had a total of $3.27 in our bank account. That's how tight we live. And it's not a lot of fun, but you got to do what you got to do, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm trying my damnedest to inspire people to step up to the plate. Now, the word news, I ran into this a while back, and I want to thank Duck for contacting these people. And now I'm supposed to contact them to see if they'll come on the show. Aboriginal owned and operated since 2007, it says. Now, it's kind of a rough, it's basically just spewing a lot of nonsense. But it does, one thing it does do, which I thought was positive, is it does encourage people to run for their local council. So I will give it that. And that's about all I can give this thing. I know one of the writers. I've had him on the show before. The guy is an instigator. These people say they're anti-Marxist, which is bullcrap. They might be anti-Marxist, but they are absolutely pro-UN agenda, and their writings prove it. So they pick something, and they're an anti-Marxist group. What exactly is an anti-Marxist group? And what has Marxism got to do with this? This is about global corporate rule. Is that Marxist? I don't know. But as Rockefeller said a long time ago, something has to take the place of government, and business seems the obvious entity to do it. Now, the problem with government, the government is a corporation, but because it's set up as a government, a ruse, they have to play the game. And it makes it a lot more difficult for people like the Rockefellers and other big power brokers to get what they want when they want it, because they have to soft shoot kind of thing through the legislature and this and that. It's a lot of work for them. So, it would be easier if we just had a global government, a global corporate government. And the corporations replace the government, which is exactly the plan. Now, is that Marxist? I don't know. It's a global corporation. So, make Canada great again. Well, how do you make Canada great again? This is a little kid with a swastika armband on his arm, on his shirt. Make Canada great again. Now, what kind of a message is this? Make Canada great again, and here's a swastika, and pointing a finger at a naked Trudeau with a king hat on, a crown on, and a scepter with a maple leaf over his genitals. Can this paper be taken seriously? Of course not, because it's not a serious paper. What it is it's an instigator. Okay, it's more chaos. I'm going to put this in the chat, and I'm going to call these guys. Now, the thing is, somebody was complaining about this thing landing on their doorstep. They had a very large circulation. I think it got up to And for a small paper, this is huge. I think it was 130,000 copies a month, which they said is costing $60,000 a month to produce. Now, there isn't $60,000 worth of advertising in this thing, so my next question is, who's funding it? Okay, where's the money coming from to fund this thing? Now, it's a native newspaper. Now, we know that the natives are working for the UN. Not the native people, but the leadership. Just the same way the people, the non-native people, are not working for the UN. We're not taking our orders from the UN, but it doesn't matter what union you're in, okay? I can trace them, or you can trace them straight back to the United Nations. Your union leadership is instigating your demise. Just as your so-called government is, just as the native leadership is. A lot of native people are actually, to me, getting smarter than the average non-native man or woman. They have finally come to the knowledge that their leadership are basically criminals. They're corporate frickin' criminals, and they do the bidding of the United Nations. So, because this is a native newspaper, native, original, Aboriginal owned and operated, okay, and $60,000 a month to produce this thing, where's the money coming from? You know, $60,000 is a fair chunk of change every month. And these guys are, I don't know where the money's coming from. They just don't get it because they don't have much of a subscription base. Really, they just fire this out in the post office, but I think the post office has refused to deliver it anymore. Here's a typical thing. This is your ward news. This is, let's see, I don't have it, fall 2016. We have a picture of Trudeau here with a Canadian armband on, flag armband with a no shirt because he likes to take selfies on a motorcycle doing a wheelie. And we have some people here. And Trudeau says, "Shut up, whore," or when performs your cavity search in front of a grade 2 sex ed class to demonstrate butch femme fisting. And some liberal guy says, "I'm famous because my dad was on TV. I voted for you. I thought you were cool. You were my fantasy boyfriend," some girl talking about Trudeau. Dr. Sears is right. You're Rothschild's AC/DC bitch. Sonny, this juiced up Jezebel is immune to fairies spewing lame LGBT threats. Crowbar leaves marks. I'll pull the rubber hose off the dishwasher. And that's an RCMP guy talking with a liberal shirt on. I think it's RCMP guy, some sort of a cop anyways. Now, this is, the average person reads this. Is this any help to the average person reading this stuff? The average brain-dead so-called Canadian reading this crap? Of course not. Government ganji gangsters is what it says. Now, even their logo, which is the sun, with the rays coming off of it, all in red, with a black symbol in the middle. Well, that's basically communism or Marxism. So while they say they're anti-this, they basically have the logo of which they say they're opposed to. But I am going to call them. I find this guy, this Dr. Sears, to be quite an interesting dude. Your Ward News editor-in-chief, Dr. James Sears, is interviewed by Sweden's Henrik Polgren, host of Red Ice Radio, the world's #1 online radio show. Dr. Sears discusses the newspaper's battle against corrupt cabinet minister Judy Foote along with a slew of other controversial topics ranging from his personal battle against Marxism to his advocacy for male masculinity. Now, Dr. Sears apparently was in the Army, and an Army captain or something. So does he not know that Canada is a corporation? Does he not know that when you become elected, and he did run in a local election down Toronto way, does he not know that he's taken the oath to serve the corporation, which is the Queen? Does he not know any of these things? It goes on here. Dr. James Sears is mobilizing manpower and materials to open the next front in our battle against Marxist parasite. We need resourceful, intelligent, uncompromising men who refuse to yield to pressure from traitors, specifically audiovisual specialists, aggressive online trolls, counter-protest muscle, satirical writers, political cartoonists, and event security. Dr. Sears also needs men to sit on the steering committee for the Adolf Hitler fan club and the anti-Marxist book burning. If you are man enough to be our comrade in arms, contact us through the www.ncparty.ca. Expel the parasite. Visit the New Constitution Party of Canada's website. Now, this guy's a complete dickweed. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I will put a link in here. Braham Yazdanfar interviews your World News editor-in-chief, Dr. James Sears, on his background, history, his anti-Marxist vision for the newspaper, his views on free speech, and the fine art of trolling Marxists. This guy is a complete asshole. Unfortunate, because I'm all for independent newspapers. Both of these guys have set up, the interviewer and the interviewee have both set up new political parties, and they both set up new constitutions. The constitution that I'm really interested in is the one that Dr. Sears put up. A writer, Lawrence McCurry. Now, I know Lawrence for a very, very long time. I ran into him first when Occupy was running around here some years. Well, I actually ran into before Occupy. This guy ended up working for CAP, the Canadian Action Party, which I was asked to run for, and I declined because they're players. They're anti-people. They're working for the big guys. They believe they're promoting. I actually asked them, I said, how can I run for you? You're promoting David Suzuki, and you're saying that global warming is real. Now, how am I supposed to run for a party that's that stupid? And he said, well, yeah, we know Suzuki's, on the other side, and we know global warming is not real, but you're saying it's real, and you're promoting David Suzuki. What's the story? Well, we thought, because everybody believes David Suzuki and believes global warming is real, why rock the boat, basically? Once we get into power, then we can change our direction. Duh, I don't think so. So you're putting yourself out as an option for the people of these lands, yet you admit you're lying to them during your election process. Take a friggin' hike, get away from me, and then next thing I know, Lawrence McCurry is their what do you call it, mouthpiece. He's their communications director or something. Called him out on that, and he said, "Well, no, it's not that I believe in what they stand for. I'm just working there." Say what? No, these guys are definitely players, and their job is basically to create chaos. That's their job. And I got real good kick out of this idea that that this is their new, and you're going to see lots more of this garbage around here. This is a message from the NCP leader, Dr. James Sears. See bottom of page for Dr. Sears' newest video. And he's standing somewhere. Now, he was in the army, I guess, and he's got his hand on an old cannon here. Somebody, that's a totem pole. That's what that is, a totem pole in the red rising sun with the red rays coming off of it with a totem pole in the middle. And he says he's anti-Marxist. Holy crap. Anyways, it says, I am both the founder and leader of the New Constitution Party of Canada. I created the party's concept, a working platform, and a logo. All future policy decisions will be made by me in consultation with my shadow cabinet, an inner circle of founding elders, none of which are named. I am not being directed by Zio-Marxist handlers, therefore I am the underlined only major party leader who thinks for himself. I am incorruptible, uncompromising, tenacious, fanatical, loyal, and unwavering in my devotion to the party's platform. My depth of knowledge across a broad range of topics combined with my linguistic mastery and public speaking abilities enable me to effortlessly articulate and communicate the party's platform in language that the majority of people can grasp and be inspired by. I am so knowledgeable, he says, that I need not rely upon written notes, instead delivering speeches spontaneously with the ability to adapt content and delivery style to my audience's minute-by-minute response. My debate skills have been proven to be unrivaled. My mere presence in the proximity of an opponent will often turn them into a nervous wreck. I am the eldest son of Greeks who immigrated to Canada in 1953. My father was an orphan whose parents were murdered in the Holocaust in Asia Minor. My mother was a Pontic Greek whose sad history I described further down. Her maiden name was yada, 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 yada. And so this is absolute nonsensical bullshit. Now, when you go to... this guy's an idiot. He is so full of himself, and he's not good at what he does. That's the problem. Now, if you look at working platform, we have life, freedom, truth, refuse to comply, spiritual fulfillment, sound money, common sense criminal code, local government, safety, health, clean food and water supply, recreational drugs, age of majority, clean environment, animal rights, self-ownership, disappearance and citizenship. And platform 2, we have privacy and anonymity, property, minimum regulations and subsidies, abolition of the income tax, basic income, true free speech and expression, free press, protest, right to keep and bear arms, marriage, mobility, speed of resolution, fair jury trial, demographic stability, dignity for seniors, dignity for veterans, elected Senate, and culture and mythology. Busy boy. But as you go through these things, you find that it is basically, for the most part, nothing more than the UN agenda. And we know that the native or the Aboriginal leaders are hooked at the hip to the United Nations program, just as your non-Aboriginal leaders are. Doesn't matter if they're your universities or your politicians or your churches, they are all pushing the UN agenda. So when you read the basic income one, it's pretty much verbatim as to the UN stuff that's being pushed. I've seen a thing in here about all religions, whether it doesn't matter whether you are a Muslim or an atheist. Doesn't mention anything about Christianity or anything else, which was the founding of these lands. So it's Muslim and atheist. Well, what are we being flooded with? Muslims. Why? To put in Sharia law. Why? Because, as I've said forever, two things have to disappear in order for them to get their world government. One is the destruction of the Constitution of the United States, which, is however you look at that, but I mean, that is something that has stood time, and the King James Bible. Those two things have to disappear. And they've turned us from a spiritual world, spiritual land, spiritual people into secular. So the idea is to bring in Sharia or Islam, which is not church and state separated. The church is the state, and that's what they want to do. And if we allow that to happen, well, just look at some of the look at Syria, for instance, or look at Iraq, or look at Afghanistan, and that's basically where you're going to end up at. The basic income is their coup de grace, I guess, is where that they have driven everybody down so far that people can't feed themselves, and it's basically, the UN human rights thing to basic food, shelter, clothing, yada, yada, yada. And that we don't want to go there. These are independent nations. We are the people that live on these lands, and anybody that wants to come in and screw with us, we need to kick their butts out into the ocean or jail them. And the other thing is that everyone, and I mean everyone, has the same rights of arrest as the police. Make no mistake about it. When I was walking down to the store last night, I've been waiting and waiting. I mean, I have enough stuff here to hang these guys, but I was waiting for one last thing before I write my letter to the Attorney General's office and the Lieutenant Governor and the Premier's office and the police and the Law Society and so on and so forth. I was waiting for one last thing to pop up. So when I was walking down to the store last night to my coffee, I was about a block and a half maybe from the store, a block. And, I looked up at this guy and I said, come on, big guy, give me something, right? I need something. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but give it to me, please. And what rolls by me is the cruiser with no taillights on it. And I went, thank you. That's exactly what I'm looking for. And then I went into the store and I phoned 911, and then the police phoned me back here and told me that they would not uphold the law. They would not write a citation to their fellow officer. And gave me some pretty lame excuses why not. And so now we're going to pursue them. And if necessary, we will arrest them because we have the right to do so. Now, some people say, geez, that's just going to get you in trouble. No, that's called rocking the boat, okay? This attitude is that you can't do anything really sickens me. It really sickens me because that's how these people get away with what they get away with. Now, it gets even weirder because this morning, there's a lady that works at Max Milk whose name is Anita. And when she first started working there, I said, hi, I'm Ron. And she said, I'm Anita. And I said, I'll have to remember that. And she said, well, it's really simple. Just think, whatever you Nita, just ask Anita. And she can help you out. So when I went in there this morning, I had written originally on one of the employees' cigarette packages when I was talking to the cop, writing down his badge number and stuff. He really didn't want to give me his first name. He didn't give me his last name. He gave me his badge number. So I wrote all that stuff down. Then I copied over on my cigarette package before I left. This morning when I went in to get a coffee for this show, Anita comes over and says, oh, this is your note, right? When I came to work, there was a sticky note on this. The employee had ripped it off her cigarette package and put a note to it that this was my note from the police. And so I got talking to Anita. Turns out Anita has studied law. Turns out she took law courses and passed with honors, and has the equivalent of a master's. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? So we talked, and she said that when she was taking the course, they were told that the police are actually a brotherhood, which is true. They are a brotherhood. They look out for the brotherhood, not you or I. You and I are revenue streams. And they're a brotherhood, and they look out for themselves. They look out for each other. And they look out for the corporation, which legislated them into business. And make no mistake, government is a business. So, we talked about this a bit as far as I told her, I said, they phoned last night, give me all these excuses why I wouldn't give the officer a ticket. And I said, when I got thinking about that, I said, that is obstruction. And she agreed it was obstruction. She also agreed that it was a breach of trust. And they can't do this, but she also agreed that we all have the same rights of arrest as the police do. And that we can arrest anybody that we see breaking the law. Now, it isn't really law, but it's the legal system we're in. So if we see someone breaking a rule, regulation, statute, bylaw, whatever, we have the same powers of arrest because we have the legal entity attached to us. We're simply proxies for the agent, which is a legal entity. It gives us the right to sue and be sued, and arrest and be arrested, and so on and so forth. So, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that it's time that we stand up and begin to make arrests. They won't like it, guaranteed they're not going to like it, but they think they're untouchable. And that is because they are part of the government, and the government we have here was given to us, and it was classed as a responsible government, with the caveat that responsible and responsible government does not have the dictionary meaning of the word responsible, meaning, in fact, that they made us responsible through the surname, which is the chargeable entity, and they are irresponsible. They're never held. You never see a politician blow off $100 million or $20 billion and be held responsible for a bad decision. So they have put themselves in the position of being irresponsible, which means that they're not liable, not chargeable, and not obligated. And we have to turn that around. We have to make them liable, which they are. They just don't want to accept it. Because they also carry the legal entity, and therefore they are suable and they are arrestable. And we, the people, have the power, the same arrest powers as anyone wearing a gun and a badge. And so we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. And we're going to push it. And that's how you change things. Not by starting a new constitution, not by this lunatic, is the only way I can describe this guy. He's so full of himself, it's ridiculous. The guy that interviews him also has a party, because I couldn't figure out who he was, and I had to go look him up last night. Turns out he has a party and a constitution and shit. And these guys are just chaos creators, and they are of no use whatsoever, other than they are pushing you to the same place that they say they are fighting against. And it really irritates the hell out of me that these guys even exist. But anyways, I'm going to put this in here, and I'm sure in the United States and different countries we have the same kind of nonsense going on. But these are things you got to be aware of, because if you don't know what you're reading, although I don't know how anybody could even read this beginning of this thing and go, this guy's a lunatic, not say this guy's a lunatic. When somebody says, I am both the founder and leader of the New Constitution Party of Canada, I created the party's concept, working platform, and logo. All future policy decisions will be made by me. Well, Jesus. Let me bow down and kiss your king feet. In consultation with my shadow cabinet. Who's your shadow cabinet? World Bank, IMF, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and so on and so forth. But I'm going to call these guys tomorrow and see if I can't get them on the show. And I would just have a hoot talking to this guy. So I want to thank Duck for reminding me about this guy. I did look at this a while back and kind of forgot about it, but I will get a hold of this guy, and hopefully we can get him on the show. I think we can have a whole lot of fun, and it's nice to have some fun. So it is. There's one other link here that, let's see. Yeah, this is the newspaper itself. That was the party I sent you, the first one, and this is the newspaper. And there's some interviews on that to be had on here. Okay. I'll put that in as well. And it's getting so totally bizarre now. It's ridiculous. Now here's a guy. I stuck this in the chat last night. I'm going to stick it in the chat again today. This guy, I definitely want to get on the show. I've run into him from time to time, and I still haven't managed to hook up with him, but I will. And this is the kind of guy I want in the show. This guy is one guy basically against the council. Now, they've tried to ban him. I think they've banned him. They've had him hauled out of the council chambers by police, and he's duly elected, but they don't like him because he's pushing back against the agendas that are being foisted upon the people. He did stop, I believe, the new sewer system up in the Sauble Beach region. And what they did was they came up with a thing that they had to. There's a lot of septic systems up there. They don't have much of a year-round population. It's mainly a tourist town up on Lake Huron. And then they were going to force the locals to put in this huge sewage system, which costing millions upon millions of dollars, which they can't afford. And the sales pitch was that the septic systems were leaking all over the place, and it was a threat to the environment and the lake and the water system and so on and so forth, and this had to be done. Well, what they're doing is they're upgrading all the sewer water systems in order to sell them off, because the international companies that wish to control your sewage and water don't want to spend their money. So every council is importing the UN agenda of upgrading these systems, which is none of their damn business. And so then when they're sold off by the municipalities, under the same old rigmarole guise that has been proven wrong over and over and over again, always sold on the idea that private is more efficient, cost-effective, and so on and so forth, than the municipality looking after it. And each time they do this, the municipalities become partners in these things. And so you become a funding instrument again for both now, not just the municipality, but for a private corporation and a municipality. So you're getting double hit here, and you have no control over anything anymore. So the deal on that particular one was that they got caught, that they did a study, and there's no leak in septic tanks there. The water's not in any danger. The environment's not in any danger from these septic tanks. And so it finally turned out that this notice came from the health department, the Grey Bruce Health Agency, which is really not part of Canada either, or part of Ontario. It's another one of these bureaucratic things that was set up. And the letter had come not from the council. The notice didn't come from anywhere except for the health agency, telling them that they had to implement this UN agenda of upgrading a sewer system, that it didn't need to be upgraded at all. So a guy like this Gammy is a guy exactly why we need to run for local governments. A guy like this, one vote, makes life very difficult. Now, I have a friend I was talking to, Krusty, up near Algonquin Park. Carl is his real name. And I was talking to him the other night. His son is married to a Peruvian girl. And I'm going to get him on the show, but I think I'm going to wait till after he gets back. They're going down to Peru for a month to visit her family. And he and his wife were invited to go along, so they're going. And I think what I'll do is I'll wait till he gets back from Peru to have him on the show, because he's been, let's see now, it took him 3 years to get in after the election, so that was 1 year and 2 years. So he's been in about 3 years now, and he's a lot like this Mr. Gammy guy. He knows what the frig is going on. He knows that the council are just goose-stepping, if you will, to the UN agendas. And it's the CAOs and city managers who implement the agendas to the council. And they're not elected, nor are the clerks. So you put the city manager and the clerk together, they're running the show. And the councils are basically your window dressing. And but every now and again, you get a guy like Carl or a guy like Gammy here who say, nah, I get the game. And I'm not just going to sit here silently as we're taken down from the inside. But my problem with the local councils is you put one man in there with one vote, then he will get voted down every time. And they have to work 10 times as hard. The media is on their back all the time as being a problem. And I'm a firm believer that we need to take control at the local level, which means we have to get majority vote. Which means, mathematically, is very simple. If you have 5, 7, some have 9, but you're normally between 5 and 7 councillors, you need to run 3 for each of theirs. So if you have 5 councillors, you need to run 15 people. And that will guarantee you, make no bones about it, that will guarantee majority vote. Now you've put yourself in a position of affecting politics instead of being affected by it, okay? And if we cannot bring ourselves to do this, now where running in a major election could be in the billions of dollars, running a local council is $100. I think mayor's $200. But you don't need mayor, because if you've got the majority council, your mayor can go suck air. So that's how inexpensive it is. So a few signs are dirt cheap. So for probably $500 max, you are running in the local election. You have all the signage you need, you've paid the fee, and you get to write your thoughts in the local paper, you get to be on the local radio stations, and if you have 15 of your people, our people, spewing the same message. See, if one of you gets on the radio or writes something in the local paper once you run, you know that you're running totally against the grain of what the others are saying. Therefore, your weight of what you say is far less than it should be, because people tend to go with the majority of whatever's being said. So if you have 15 people against their 5, and your 15 people have the same message, and 15 of your people are interviewed by the local radio station, and you get to write in the local paper, guess what? Your message overpowers their message. It's that simple. And you will get majority. Now, I probably sound like a broken record sometimes, but I'm adamant about this. We need local newspapers, and we need people to run in local elections. If you can't bring yourself to do those two simple things, if you cannot bring yourself to do those two simple things, then you have absolutely no right to bitch or complain about anything. Period. You have no right. If you can't step up to the boat, up to the plate, up to the boat and rock the shit out of it, if you can't do that, then you're basically a useless piece of meat. And you don't even exist. Because if you're not trying to change something for the better, then you're not involved, you're not a participant, okay? You're no different than somebody sitting in front of the TV staring at it, or going and buying a ticket and going to the ball game or the hockey game. The only thing you know how to do is be an audience. You don't know how to be a participant. And if you can't be a participant, then you got no reason to complain. Okay? You got no reason to complain, because otherwise you're still in the audience. You go to a ball game or a hockey game, you bitch about the ref, or you bitch about somebody gave somebody a hit, and they should have been charged, or they should have been this, or they should have been thrown in a penalty box. Same garbage as what's going on here daily. Okay? This is what audience does. Okay, you're not even on the stage. You're not on the field. You got to get down on the field. You got to get up on the stage, and you got to get it together, and you got to be a participant in it. No more of this audience nonsense. Audience is for the brain dead. Audience is for people who can't think. Okay? Audience is for people who don't want to participate in anything. They just want to go and be entertained. Well, how's the political entertainment going for everybody to date? Okay, I think it's pretty reasonable to say it doesn't matter who has ever been voted in, they're liars. So why do you keep voting these liars in? If you're a man or a woman of moral value and you don't run, then your voice isn't going to be heard. So you won't get to speak the truth. And you won't be able to make any change. In other words, you won't be rocking the boat. Standing on the boat bitching and complaining at it because it's upside down is not going to turn it right side up, is it? Let's put a little energy into it. And that's what's got to get done. And I'm sorry if I sound like I'm preaching at you, but I'm just trying to tell you what has to get done. And if you're not capable of doing it, then you might as well quit listening to this show, and you might as well go and watch TV or a football game or a hockey game or a baseball game or a golf tournament. Because if you're just listening to this to be entertained, I ain't interested in talking to you. We're going to change this. You go look at your kid. And you explain to your kid that mommy or daddy knows this is bad news, but mommy or daddy ain't got a strong enough mind or a strong enough spine to stand up and do anything. So while we love you, we did sign you over to the states, of which we in return got a bundle of rights, but still the state owns your ass, and they can come and pull you from this home anytime they want, and there's really not much we can do about it. But we're too weak to stand up and change this. I don't know how a parent can even look at their child knowing what we know now and not be inspired to do something. I have no use for the people running around going, we need a civil war. We do not need a civil war. This is a spiritual, psychological war. And guns are not required in a spiritual psychological war. You need a spirit, and you need some basic psychology. If you can grasp those two things, then we will be far more effective than running around threatening people with guns, which is exactly what they want us to do. Then they can bring in the martial law. They can center out the people who are trying to make change because they're crazed gunmen, and we need to put them down. So that is what will not work. What will work is simply standing up and putting your moral horse underneath of you and get on it and refuse to get off of it. And that is how we win this. Now, another thing I was looking at last night is Press TV, which I've heard about. I've never looked at it. I took a bit of a look at it last night. Press TV is total and complete bullshit, if I may say that. It is pushing the agenda. So I found some of their writers, and I followed that, and I ended up at a thing called the American Herald Tribune. And I'm looking for I'm looking for their writers. And this is the same thing. This is no different than Press TV. It's the same damn thing. Now, one of the writers is John McMurtry. Now, I found this what's his name? The stories about this guy over on Press TV, and that's Anthony Hall, who got kicked out of the University of Lethbridge. And now I found him on Press TV, and these people all seem to write for the American Herald Tribune. And what I'm looking for right now, and I lost my... Oh, God, where is the writers on this thing? The guy I was looking at here, I know who John McMurtry is. And when I look through these writers, and they have quite a passel of writers, and I'm just trying to figure out where that all went to. I went through an awful lot of things last night. See if I can, okay, we can get there from there. That's fine. We'll do that. Anyways, this is American Herald Tribune. And I'll put that in the chat as well. John McMurtry is a writer for the United Nations. His brother, Roy McMurtry, was the Attorney General of Ontario, and his other brother, which I can't recall his name right now, I met when I was fighting the windmills here in Ontario back in 2006, 2007, and forward. And he was part of the controlled opposition. When I came out swinging about the wind turbines, windmills, whatever you want to call them, I already understood this from the 70s. I already researched this in the 70s, and it was a complete and total fraud. So I already had my basic knowledge, and just had to reconnect a few things. And out of the gates I came, and I had the most popular blog on the internet regarding wind turbines. I was getting calls from all over North America, down into the deep states. I was getting calls from Scotland. And then it was all good, and I was getting thousands of hits a day, and my blog on WordPress was right up, I think it was in the top 100 of all blogs. And then McMurtry. I can't remember what the hell his first name was, but McMurtry, whose brothers worked for the UN and was the Attorney General of Ontario, was pushing the UN agenda. So all of a sudden this other McMurtry shows up, and he too had been over in Africa or something. I don't know what happens to these people when they go to Africa. It seems once they've been to Africa, they're screwed up. I don't know if they have a special vaccine or what the hell it is they shove into these people, but when they come back, they are completely dedicated to shoving the world agenda, the globalist agenda. And so his story was that he was going to put a small windmill up at his property in Prince Edward County, I believe it was. And but then when he heard some of the problems people were having with these industrial windmills, now the little windmill you put up on your property has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with these corporate industrial windmills, nothing. And then he decided that he wouldn't put up the windmill. Again, one has nothing whatsoever to do with the other. And become a advocate or a fighter for the rights of the people who were being inundated with windmills. None of that made any sense. And once I figured out who his brothers were, obviously this guy's controlled opposition. They brought a couple other people in, health people in from the government, ex-government people, who all jumped on the bandwagon and started calling me out as a conspiracy theorist and this and that. They didn't want to hear about the UN. They didn't want to hear about Morris Strong or the Rockefellers. They just wanted to talk about setbacks and noise kind of thing. And in other words, have a very lively discussion, but in a very, very narrow band, and not to tolerate anything outside that band. And that is exactly what controlled opposition is about. So I know these guys, and so when I went to Press TV after the show last night, I think for the first time I've ever been there, it didn't take long to sort out what this shit was about, and so then we end up over here at McMurtry, who I think is also, I think these guys are all writers as well for Press TV. I'm missing a couple links from last night. They're probably in here somewhere. But you know, I was rooting around till 2:30 in the morning, so bear with me on this. But this is all pretty simple stuff to do. It's called basic research, but you gotta attach names to this, that, and the other thing, and figure out what the hell's going on here. Anyways, so this is who John McMurtry is, and I cannot, for the life of me, figure out where to find on this all of their writers. There's a whack of a list of them here. Youth, trending. Oh, here they are, authors. Now, this is quite a cross-section of writers, but basically we have Muslim writers, Jewish writers, Christian writers. It's a freaking mess in here. If you go through who they are, some of these people I know. Dennis Rancourt, I studied this guy before. He's a critic and former university professor. I think he got turfed out of the university, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Dennis Rancourt was a professor for more than 20 years at the University of Ottawa, up to the highest rank of full professor, same as Anthony Hall. Until 2009. In the fall of 2008, he was removed from all teaching duties under the pretext that he had granted A+ grades to 23 students in one course during the winter of the 2008 semester. However, it's quite clear to everybody that his outspoken criticism of Israel and his pro-Palestinian activism had triggered his dismissal from the university. Well, wait a minute. If he gave 23 students an A+ that didn't deserve the A+, that would seem reason to get rid of the guy, but apparently not. It was because of his criticism of Israel and his pro-Palestinian activism had triggered his dismissal from the university. Professor Rancourt's classes were always attended by the tens and hundreds of students, and he was considered as one of the popular university professors at the Faculty of Science. He has authored more than 100 articles published in leading peer-reviewed scientific journals. Well, we know the man's full of shit at that point, don't we? I mean, if this guy's writing 100 articles on science, which were appeared that were published in leading peer-reviewed scientific journals, we know the man's full of shit. We know he's a player. We know he's one of the new priests in the fields of physics and environmental science. He is currently an independent social theorist and science critic, author of several social analyst articles posted on the internet venues, and the author of the book Hierarchy and Free Expression in the Fight Against Racism, Stairway Press 2013. He's an active volunteer with the Ontario Civil Liberties Association and an experienced self-represented litigant. The man's full of shit, or he's completely stupid, one of the two, maybe a combination of the two of them. So that's one of the writers that I know about. I know that guy. I'm going to put this in here. Some of the listeners, George Galloway's in here. He, I believe, was banned from coming to Canada to speak. We have John McMurtry, who we're going to go take a look at here in a minute. Joshua Blakeney. I have to look into him because I'm not sure if he's the son of, what was his name, Blakeney? I'm not even sure if they're spelt the same. I have to look him up. But he was another high-ranking politician here in Canada who passed away. And when you look into him, a total and complete treasonous bastard, a complete UN monkey, a complete globalist monkey. Margot Kidder is in here as a part-time writer, and she's already been classed as basically not mentally stable. In other words, she's easily influenced, and because she came from the arts, she's influenced by that sector, and the arts is basically deception. Paul Craig Roberts, heard that name before. There's Professor Tony Hall, full professor of globalization studies. This is the gentleman that was booted from the University of Lethbridge. All of these people in here, in one form or another, are pushing the globalist agenda. And therefore, I have some serious questions about Tony Hall and all professors. I mean, their job is to push the shit, and that's what they do. So this is, I'll put this link in here, the American, and then I think we're going to finish the show up by taking a look at McMurtry here and what he's connected to, and hopefully that will give you an idea of the reason that you need to go and follow names around. You got to be able to, I already put that in there. Okay, that's fine. So let's go take a look at McMurtry. Now, I've studied this guy in the past a little bit. We're going to look a little deeper into McMurtry here and what he's up to. Now, there's another interesting thing just before I get there, and this I ran into last night following McMurtry around. Now, we all heard about Uber, right? Uber cabs and Uber this and Uber that. That comes from, we'll put that in at the end. It's basically Overman, basically Superman. And as common was Superman, let's see here, Übermensch, which is German, was anticipated in this by George Bernard Shaw, who we know is a player. Actually, the original Superman had nothing whatsoever to do with the Superman of today. Now, this Uberman thing is, and this has a lot to do with, I'll let you read it. But here we have it again, the death of God and the creation of new values. Okay, and this goes back to the scientists being the new priests. I can't read this name. Zarathustra ties the Übermensch to the death of God. And this is what they needed to do. They need to kill God because the New World Order is satanic. And they can't get what they want as long as that KGB exists. And that is the main reason that Islam is being foisted upon the West, okay, is to put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, and kill God and institute Muhammad as the new God. The problem with the Muslims is they don't understand that they are just being used as a mechanism. And these guys like the word mechanism. We need a mechanism. How are we going to get rid of the KGB Bible? We need a mechanism. Well, what is the mechanism chosen? It is Islam. It is Sharia law. Just like we need a mechanism, we need mechanisms that are global problems that are going to be solved at the global level. That's where the environmental movement came from. Okay, and that came straight out of the 1950 Senate hearings with James Warburg. It's right in your face. All you got to do is read the crap and follow it around. Everything is written down. And you just got to keep following it, and you will get all the answers. The ticket is, ask the question, and then go find the answer. Now, we'll go back here. I hope I can follow this all the way through. I had so much stuff open last night. I wasn't opening new tabs. But maybe we can do this because we have, when we go to John McMurtry, we end up with value of Earth, which is people, gross world product, world population, population matters, which is the group that threatened to sue me if I didn't remove my post on my blog regarding population matters, which used to be the Optimum Population Trust, of which Attenborough was a patron. But I put a blog up a few years back, and they jumped on me like a ton of bricks and threatened to sue me if I did not remove my post regarding their group. Well, I refused to remove it. It is still there. They just kind of shut up. I mean, there's nothing I would love better than be dragged up in front of the Human Rights Commission or some of these clowns sue me. To date, I'm batting zero, and God knows I've tried. Because I do not fear these people. And they know I know enough that they can't do nothing about it, save shoot me. Now, hopefully they're not that miserable. I'm not doing this because I dislike any of these people personally. I do it because they're confused and they're going down the wrong path. And they are not going to end up where they think they're going to end up with, just like the Muslims. When I had the meeting with the Muslim youth here 4 or 5 years ago, and we went through all of this stuff, and they are committed into believing that the Quran will replace the Bible, and that Sharia law will become the law of the West. They are absolutely convinced of it. And, I had to explain to them that they're being used basically as proxies or patsies or whatever you want to call it. And that when they have accomplished what they've been put there to accomplish, then they will be of no use. In fact, they will be in the way and they will be eradicated because the global government has nothing to do with Christianity, nor does it have anything to do with Islam or Sharia. It has to do with earth worship. Okay, so when I say this is a spiritual psychological war, make sure that you understand that's exactly what it is. And this is what's being foisted on the West because it's a little difficult for them to, the West can go and bomb other countries and say, well, they threatened us. Well, how does the West bomb itself? can't do it. So therefore, they need a psychological, spiritual war. And that's exactly what we're engaged now. And we got to step up to the plate and deal with it. Anyways, John McMurtry is a university professor emeritus of philosophy at the University of Guelph, Canada. Most recently, he was focused his research on value structure of economic theory and the consequences of global civil and environmental life. McMurtry was named a Fellow of the Royal Society of Canada, which is the same as the British Royal Society, which are all globalists, or the elite, if you will, looking down upon the commoners, trying to figure out what to do with the damn things. He was put into the Royal Society of Canada in 2001 by his peers for his outstanding contributions to the study of humanities and social sciences. His principal research project in philosophy, spanning over 7 years, has followed from the invitation by the Secretariat of UNESCO Encyclopedia of Life Support Systems to construct, author, edit philosophy and world problems. As a multi-volume study of world philosophy, 3 sub-volume edited, Western Philosophy and the Life Ground, Modes of Reason and Philosophy, Human Nature and Society have been written with internationally distinguished philosophers contributing to 5 topic areas in each of these general fields. The central title study by McMurtry entitled What is Good and What is Bad? The Value of All Values Across Time, Place, and Theories is an encompassing in-depth critical study of known world philosophies and fields to explain the inner logic of each canon and school in relationship to world problems across languages and eras, including the method of life value autoaxiology, which is deployed to excavate, explain, and resolve life-blind prepositions of the world's major thought systems from the ancient East and West, excuse me, to modern and contemporary philosophy. Now, this has a whole bunch of stuff in here. Now, I don't believe by a long shot everything I read in Wikipedia, but what I do give Wikipedia credit for is the number of links in it. And it makes it extremely easy. Now, you still got to use your own mind here, and you got to cross-check things, but it makes it very easy to get from A to B. Now, in here, in the first bit here, in the intro to McMurtry, we come across this term, life value onto axiology. Now, you don't just read this stuff, okay? You have to follow this through. Well, what is life value? Okay? The potency of life, brackets, or cost of life, is an economic value assigned to life in general or to specific living organisms. Read it. Okay? Read that. Good stuff. It's very good stuff. And you go through here, and you will find some pretty interesting things. Now, see also, we always have that in Wikipedia, psychological significance and value in life, rational choice theory, utilitarianism, value, brackets, personal, cultural, intrinsic value, ethics, disability adjusted life year. You need to know all of this stuff to get a real picture of how and what is operating your life for you. And we need to shake that loose. So as we go through here, value theory is an unifying field of research, as he has published and taught in a diverse field of inquiry. such as social and political philosophy, Asian, Indian, and Chinese philosophy, philosophy of economics, philosophy of education, philosophy of literature, philosophy of history, post-Kant continental philosophy, and logic of natural language and philosophy of the environment. He is also part of the peace movement and international law study bodies. He served as chair of Jurist, War Crimes and Crimes Against Humanity Tribunal at the Alternative World Summit in Toronto in 1989. His professional work has been published in over 150 books and journals, including Inquiry, The Monist, and Canadian Journal of Philosophy, Praxis International, Encyclopedia Ethics, Atlantic Monthly, Guardian Weekly, Norton. So this guy's pushing. He's engaged in this because he's pushing the globalist agenda. So we have all kinds of things in here. But as I went through this, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find all of these links again. I don't know if that's going to work for me. Oh, see, I already lost them. That pisses me off. I don't know why that does that to me on these links. I had a bunch of links here that when I followed some of these links through that are in these things, what we end up with is we end up at the Church of Suicide. We end up at all of these groups that are pro depopulation, which is the real goal of the not the Marxists, the globalists. Okay, it's always about depopulation because it is the population that threatens the earth. Now, even when I ran into some of these completely whacked outfits, and maybe I can get back to some of them here, not from there, I'm not going to. But this all of this was led through McMurtry. And it's not giving it to me here. Let's try this link. Okay, we went from there, value, personal, and culture. And let's see see if I can see what we clicked on after that. Moral education. Let's see if we can find something down here that we clicked on from there. What I should have done last night really was open up a new link in everything that I followed, but my computer was running slow, so I tried to clean it up, speed it up a little bit today, and a lot of these links that I followed have unlinked themselves, so that it's difficult for me to get back to where I was at. But the fact of the matter is that you need to really go through some of the names in the American Herald Tribune that I put in the chat, and it's just I got Chris calling in. Okay, I'm tired of talking anyways. Now, I don't know that I put this in here. I don't believe it did. Let's see if we can get back to McMurtry. And I'll put that in. Christopher, have I got you there, buddy?
You have me, my friend.
My brain hurts, you know that?
Yeah, I noticed.
I mean, I went on this trip last night after the show.
Was it an acid trip?
No, it was well, maybe an acid trip. I don't know what exactly the acronym is, but I don't know. We'll have to make up something for it. But when I'm running across these names that I looked at years ago, connected to this Anthony Hall. And the reason I'm concerned about Anthony Hall is because he's so hyper, and it's like, they're against me because I'm anti-Israel, right? They're anti-Zionist. And, either he doesn't know what he's talking about or he's just a shill. And he looks a lot like a shill. So I will take one more shot at and get him on the show. But I really, really, really want to thank you for giving me back the word news, because I did look at it a while ago. And this guy, I definitely want
well, lots to know where that came from.
Show. He's a complete loony.
He's one scary dude.
He's loony. He
sounds like he's going to be the savior, and he's got the arrogance.
Well, yeah, he's bitching about Trudeau being a narcissist, and here's this guy's more narcissistic than even Trudeau is. Totally loony, and his crew's loony, because I know some of that crew, and I've dealt with them over the years. And so, a lot of these guys won't come on my show, but I'm going to take a shot at them and see if I can't get them on.
Well, that's what I say. I mean, this guy is so fucking arrogant. He's suggesting that there's not a debate he can't lose.
Well, I don't know.
And I'm thinking, well, geez, Ron, I can't wait till you have a conversation with him. And people they'll fucking see who he is, But I better be careful in case they're listening, because that might scare them away.
Well, yeah.
But if it does scare them away, well, then that just goes to show you, doesn't it? Because if you try and get in contact with them and they realize who you are, I will then get in contact with them and have a little discussion as to what's the problem if you have nothing to hide.
Well, I went through the paper and I was quite impressed, actually. This is how easily you got to really look at stuff, folks. I still want to start a paper, and like I said, I am in absolutely no financial position to do so. And it's not that expensive, right? I mean, it's all costed out, and with no advertising in it, it's about to put 5,000 copies out. It runs out about $1,000, but I haven't got $1,000.
It's a rough go unless you've got
George
connections
Soros,
with the Jewish mafia,
or the Rothschilds, or the Queen, or Trudeau, or the Pope are listening to the show. And I know I got that notice from the Vatican that they're now following my updates on my blog, which just totally screwed my blog from thousands of hits a day to a couple of hundred.
I like the way they do that. Make you look insignificant.
Yeah, these people all have Gates. Or
I've seen one of your blogs. You had like 2,500 hits on it, and the next day you had 200.
Oh, it's brutal, man. Like I used to get my blog when I came out with Wind. My blog was the premier blog. Even reporters who would interview me way back then, who don't now, I said just go to my blog, and they said, well, yeah, we all use your blog. The wind industry uses your blog. The government uses your blog. The media uses your blog. We all use your blog. Where do you think we get all this information from? So it was an extremely busy blog. But then when McMurtry's brother got involved in it, and Roy McMurtry, we all know that name, was the Attorney General, all connected to the United Nations. Then things started getting a little tough on me. And then the Vatican thing. So, but I guess what I'm saying is, if the Rockefellers or the government, I know the police are at my blog, I know the Attorney General's office at my blog lots. If any of those entities, who all have much more money than I do, or at least access to it, Ronnie would like to start a newspaper. So, as the police were nice enough to call me while I was on air last night, maybe you guys could gather up $5 or $10,000 and send it to me so that we could get a newspaper going.
Well, the cops, they got the money.
Yeah.
Honey.
Yeah, they got the money, honey. But how weird was that when I went to get my coffee this morning, when I was telling Anita, because I'd left that note there last night, I'd copied it on my cigarette package, but I just left it on Donna's cigarette package where I originally written it down. And Anita gave it to me. She said, "What is this?" And I told her. And she's actually phoning the cops on the cops. Yeah, cool. And then she started explaining to me that she's got honors in law, and basically
she's working at Max Milk. Sad.
Well, no, I said, "What the hell are you doing here?" She said, "Well, I actually don't have to work. This is just something for me to do part-time, and it's non-stressful. I get to come and listen to these people and watch them buy their lottery tickets and goof around and just,
watch them buy their lottery tickets, yeah. We all dream, eh?
But, I said, how big is this? I'm walking down the street last night. I said, "Come on, big guy, give me something." And you handed me this cruiser going down the road with those lights on. And then this morning I come in to get my coffee, and I find out that you have basically got a master's in law. And this is going to be fun. But she said that when she went to school, they were told that the police are, in fact, a brotherhood. And they are.
We all know that. I mean, that's not a secret.
People.
That secret's out.
Well, yeah. But
that's been out for a long time, Ron.
Studied law, and she agreed that they have to give them the ticket, and you and I can arrest anybody we bloody well want if they've broken a rule, regulation, statute, bylaw, or whatever that is. We have the exact same rights as a cop to arrest. So when you
I don't know if it works that way in the States.
No, it's the same here.
Maybe it does, but I know in Canada, that is true. In theory, but in practice,
they don't
try and do it.
No.
Try and arrest a cop. See how much you get tased.
No. They don't like it. Like I was saying last night when I told a cop, that he didn't have his trunk strapped down. He told me to F off and got very angry. And I was in my early 20s then. And he really didn't like that at all. And
now you're targeted.
Like to tell you what to do, but they don't like to be told. But the fact
they're the authority.
No, we have every man and woman of legal age in this country has the same arresting rights as a policeman. That's a given.
Well, that's correct. That is correct.
By Anita.
But like I said, in theory, but like try and do it in practice.
Well, no, they get
when you want to arrest a cop for doing something wrong. He's got the gun. He's got the taser. He's not going to let you go very far with that one.
Well, yeah, he is actually.
And if you pull your gun, which is kind of hard to do in Canada, but it can be done.
The cop. Well, I mean,
they'll have a SWAT team on you, and you'll be dead.
Well, the cop pulled the gun on me when I ran her down when she gave me the ticket on the last day of my dad's cancer treatment for coming back from London. They gave me a ticket, and I told her why I did what I did, and it was for safety reasons, which is good enough. And she was in a pissy mood and wouldn't hear anything, give me the ticket, and then turned around and broke the law by driving backwards down the shoulder of the road into oncoming traffic at a high rate of speed, back to where she said I broke the law. Now, I ran down, and it wasn't easy. She did not want to pull over, right? Okay? I mean, when she saw me beside her, honking the horn, I think she peed her pants. And but I know her eyes bugged out awful big. Like, what the hell is this, right?
Yeah, you're not supposed to be arresting me.
And I pushed her off the road, right? I mean, I just kept moving her over.
Should have done that. You should have done that maneuver. Like where you get in behind and you bump the back of the side of the car and make it spin out of control.
I don't want to.
That's what they do.
I just want her off the road. So, I mean, this went on for miles, and she eventually found like a
safe spot.
So she pulled in there, and I give her credit. She sure knows how to exit a cruiser quick, because it was a gravel laneway, and so it was like almost like a merge off the highway, right? So we were still hauling it when we hit the laneway, and she was on the binders because this car was sliding, and she opened the door before the car was even stopped and was out of it and running down in front of the car, like away from the car, and we pulled in, and I got out, and she was shook, and she's got her gun. You back off, right? And I go like, what is your problem, right? You know, and then she went on to explain to me that she can do what she did because she's a policewoman and she can break the law. Bullshit. So I didn't arrest her, but I got her badge number and everything. And when I got home, I phoned the London Police Department and talked to the staff sergeant and explained the situation to him, and that he needed to have a chat with that lady. Because she's a danger out on the road. She's a danger, she's not here helping people. She's endangering people. And once you're done talking to her, get her ticket book and find my ticket and chuck it in the garbage can, which she agreed to. So this idea that they can run over your ass anytime they want and you cannot do anything about it is complete horseshit. We got to step it up. We have got to understand that we are the ones that actually hold the power. Well, this is what
this is all about. I think it's something that we're trying to empower people to understand, and you have regular listeners that get it. But it's to spread the word to everybody else that is actually what is supposed to happen. It's us. They take our money to facilitate our needs.
We have to participate.
And our wants, and that's not happening. I mean, you got like 95% of your freaking money is being stolen.
But it's the same thing, Chris. When the cruiser went by you speeding, going the same speed that you're now walking for, sitting in jail for a week, you pull the guy over.
I get to do 30 days in jail and they get to steal my vehicle.
No, but you pull him over. Right? You just get up beside him. The same thing. I just get up beside him, honk the horn, and motion him to get over. And if he fails to do so, if you got a cell phone, then you phone to make the phone call and say that we have a speeding vehicle here that will not slow down, will not pull over, and is ignoring. And therefore, you need to get some people out here to arrest this guy or gal. And that's what we need to do. We need to step it up.
To be honest with you, Ron, that'll never happen.
Well, it does happen.
Because what happens is you pull up beside them, you end up getting beat down, tased, maybe shot.
I didn't.
For obstruction of justice.
No,
because I was on my way to a call, is what they will tell you. Well, why didn't you have your sirens on? Well, because it had to be a silent. It was a silent call. We had to be quiet. It was a domestic dispute, and they always got ways around that, Ron.
Bring the evidence.
You're going to be the one that's going to get your butt kicked. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, see, this is exactly, Chris, what I hate about my fellow Canadians. I hear more excuses from people why we can't do what needs to get done. Right?
Well,
There is no excuse. There is no excuse for giving these guys this kind of leeway. None.
Yeah, but I'm scared.
What are you scared of?
Tasers, bullets.
Afraid of?
Just that kind of stuff. Isn't that what everybody else is afraid of?
I'm not afraid.
I don't want to piss
I don't
them off, man.
understand
I could be the next one tased. I could be the next one shot.
I ain't been shot. I ain't been tased.
Well, it's coming. Trust
I've
me.
dealt with these clowns for an awful long time.
I've called them.
And, I mean, when they wanted to take me to jail at one time when I was young, the OPP, and who did I call? Because I get to make a call. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. Who did I call? I actually called a cop who I was found guilty of assault in court. But I had an explanation for why I assaulted him, because he beat me with one of them long flashlights from years gone by.
God, I hate that.
Why should I put up with this horse shit? So I give him a shot, and then I asked him to stop like 3 times. Like, Ross,
Please.
And he wouldn't cut it out, so I give him a boot in the nuts. There, stop it.
That usually stops them. But I think they wear cuffs now.
I was simply protecting myself, of which I have every right to do. I asked him several times to stop it, and he wouldn't. And so I got to do what you got to do. But this is the same guy I called at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, he's a town cop. Now, me and Ross, we knew each other for years and years and years. We actually respected each other, except sometimes he would go into cop mode and lose it. And that's the problem with the police. They lose it. They stop thinking properly and turn into dogs or some stupid thing. And they're more dangerous than pit bulls. And if they ban pit bulls, then they ought to ban the police. It stands to reason. But
all you got to go back to is what we pay them. We pay them $100,000 a year plus benefits.
Right. Why we do?
And they barely pay any income tax because they're police officers.
But
so, like hell, you know what? I'd kick in a couple nuts for $100,000 a year plus benefits. I guess no, I wouldn't. I'm lying, but you see my point.
Let me just finish this real quick. So 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting in the OPP. They're telling me they're taking 25 miles away to the county jail. I'm telling them I got to go to work next morning. I didn't harm anybody. If you want to write me a ticket, so be it. Give me a ride home. It's late. I got to get up at 6:30 in the morning. No, we're taking you to jail, and I get to make a call. So who do I call? I call Ross, right? Who's a town cop at 2 o'clock in the morning. Wake him up, and he goes, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm at the OPP station." He said, "What'd you do?" I said, "Nothing really." But these guys are adamant they're going to take me to jail because they think you got nothing else to do, and they want to bother me. And so I need you to talk them down and tell them to give me a ride home. He said, put them on the phone, right? So now I got the town cops telling the OPP not to take me to jail. Give me a ride frickin' home. If you want to write Ron a ticket, fine. But give him a ride home. He's got to get up to work in the morning. And that's exactly what happened. And the OPP are going, son of a bitch. Then they're asking me what university I went to. Like, it's all psychological. It's spiritual, which is moral, and it is psychological. And we're morally got the upper hand because the legal system is amoral. And psychologically, we are much more adept at thinking than your average cop is. So we need to use these tools to change things around. Anyways, we're going to hear music in about 2 seconds. I will not forget this today.
I want to talk about the 12 tribes.
At 3 o'clock behind the woodshed with Hal. Be there. The guy knows what he's talking about. And I want to thank Duck for calling in because Duck does such good work setting things up for me, setting up a round table between who? Me and Hal and who else?
Well, we got Shawley and Clint. And, we're working on other hosts.
Okay, so that's what we're working on now. Get that together. Have a great time. Get out. But
selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line, lower class and social slime, they don't matter, genocide, sick from water, sick from air, making money, they don't care, Caesar shit, force of air, fuck them back, it's only for they more.